Deep in the prophet's portion of Tanakh are the 56 verses of Habbakuk. I'll say that again in case you haven't heard of him. Habbakuk. This book, divided into 3 short chapters, speaks to a time of growing instability and societal injustice in the 7th century BCE. Habbakuk begins by calling out to God. "How long, God, will I cry out and you won't listen? How long will I shout of violence and you won't come to the rescue? Why do you make me see wickedness as you look at suffering and violence against me while strife and contention carries on?" The fear and desperation in his voice are palpable. Where are you, God, in this frightening chaos that I have to face every single day without a break? The prophet Habbakuk watched from the land of Israel as the Babylonian ruler, a king with no compassion for those under his expanding rule, deployed his army in cities across the region to quell resistance to his rule. The Babylonian army had the greatest chariots in the world. They had the greatest horses in the world. They had the greatest weapons in the world, and they celebrated it. "Pure are your eyes that see evil," Habbakuk says to God. "You cannot look at suffering. How do you look at treacherous ones and be silent as the wicked swallow up the good from among us?" Habbakuk is horrified and in disbelief, frustrated at his mortal inability to stop an unfolding disaster. He has heard all about how the king has used the Babylonian army to harm the well-being of normal people. Already feeling powerless, Habbakuk learns from God that the Babylonian army is coming to him next, to sack Jerusalem and send the Jewish people into exile. In front of his eyes, the might of the Babylonian army will be on full display. Habbakuk knows that he and his loved ones all around him will see for themselves just how great those chariots are at crushing anyone in their way. They will see for themselves how great those horses are at stampeding. They will see for themselves how great those weapons are at killing and maiming and setting on fire. They will see for themselves what it is like to be met with a very big force. Habbakuk is speaking about the greatness of a foreign military. But when we here talk about the greatest military in the world today, we know that it is in fact ours. Many in this room understand the lethality of the U.S. military from service to our country. We are not sitting here waiting for a mighty foreign army to sack our cities. We are the ones with the mighty army. And it is the job of our military in all of its might to defend us. But this week in America has raised a question. Whom is our military actually defending? This week, President Trump sent National Guardsmen and Marines to LA, and he has threatened to do the same in other cities. And he has threatened that any protesters will be met with very big force. Against this backdrop, we here in the DMV now await tomorrow, when the parade marking the Army's 250th birthday makes its way from the Pentagon right here in Northern Virginia through the Capitol. I don't know about you, but I feel a little bit like Habbakuk. Scared, desperate, horrified, confused, frustrated. The escalating violence going on right now between Israel and Iran makes me feel all of this even more. The violence of the past week here in the US and the past month, and frankly a long time before that, is an ominous backdrop to a parade showing off just how much suffering our military can inflict on those on whom the commander-in-chief sets his sights. With forces being deployed against American citizens, this army parade feels not like a celebration of defense, the highmost responsibility of our Department of Defense, but a celebration of offense. an offensive against the norms of American liberal democracy in which we do not use our nation's most lethal resource according to the whims of our leaders. We do not know what happens to Habbakuk when the Babylonian army does eventually parade through the streets of Jerusalem. But we do know what he says he's going to do sometime in the future. Va'ani b'Adonai et loza, agila belohe yish'i. I will exalt in Adonai. I will rejoice in the God of my thriving. Yish'i, from Yeshua, is variously translated as salvation or deliverance, but it speaks on a theological level to the promise of a future time in which we will live in a world that is actually as good and as just and as fair as it can be. For this reason, I like to think of Yeshua, Yishi, as thriving. Va'ani b'Adonai et loza, agila belohe yish'i. I will exalt in Adonai. I will rejoice in the God of my thriving. Habbakuk positions thriving against violence. Thriving sits in opposition to war. Thriving sits in opposition to militarization. The unfolding situation between Israel and Iran, just how much work here, all this underscores just how much work there is until we achieve our full thriving. But no matter how difficult the present is, Habbakuk reminds us of the importance of holding on to that hope for our future thriving, the hope for a world where peace replaces pain. I will exalt in Adonai. I will rejoice in the God of my thriving. Shabbat Shalom.